In the silence before creation, there were words spoken that humanity was never meant to hear. Ancient whispers carved into stone, hidden beneath centuries of sand and censorship, waiting for the one who would dare to listen. Today, you stand at the threshold of a revelation that has been suppressed, concealed, and kept from the eyes of the world for over 2,000 years. This is not a story. This is an awakening. And it begins with a book that was removed from sacred scripture, erased from the canon, deemed too dangerous for the souls of men. The Book of Enoch. A text so profound, so forbidden, that emperors burned it, councils banned it, and scholars whispered its name only in shadow. Yet it survived, hidden in the caves of Qumran, preserved in the highlands of Ethiopia, guarded by monks who understood that some truths cannot be destroyed, only delayed. And now in this moment, as your eyes trace these words, as your consciousness aligns with the frequency of this transmission, you are being called, not by chance, not by accident, but by the same ancient force that guided Enoch himself into the heavens, into the throne rooms of eternity, into the presence of beings that existed before time had a name. Before we journey deeper into this forbidden knowledge, if you feel the resonance of what is being shared here, if something within you recognizes the truth vibrating beneath these words, honor that recognition. Press the like button. Subscribe to this channel, because what you are about to receive is not entertainment. It is transmission. It is initiation. And those who are meant to walk this path will know it in their bones. Let us begin where all great mysteries begin. In darkness. In the days before the great flood, before the waters rose to cleanse the corruption from the face of the earth, there lived a man who walked with God. His name was Enoch, seventh from Adam, father of Methuselah, a scribe, a seer, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. But Enoch was not merely a man who prayed. He was a man who was taken. The scriptures tell us he was translated. He did not die. He did not taste death. Instead, he was lifted beyond the veil, carried by angels into realms where the laws of flesh do not apply, where secrets older than the stars themselves were revealed to him. And what he saw changed everything. He witnessed the fallen ones, the watchers, those radiant beings who descended from the highest heavens, who looked upon the daughters of men and found them beautiful, who broke the sacred covenant and taught humanity the forbidden arts, warfare, cosmetics, astrology, sorcery, metallurgy. The secrets of heaven poured into the soil of earth, corrupting the bloodline, twisting the genetic code of creation itself. These were not myths. These were records. Enoch documented it all. The names of the angels, the nature of their rebellion, the consequences of their actions, the birth of the Nephilim, those giants who walked the earth, beings of terrible power and insatiable hunger, born from the union of the divine and the mortal. He saw the chains prepared for the fallen. He heard the cries of the souls of the slain. He stood before the throne of the Ancient of Days and received the judgment that would be pronounced upon the world. And then he was commanded to write it down, to preserve it, to ensure that future generations would know what truly happened in the days before the flood. But here is where the story becomes dangerous, because the Book of Enoch does not merely tell us about the past. It speaks directly to the present. It speaks to you, right now, in this very moment. The message hidden within its pages was not meant for the priests of ancient Israel. It was not written for the councils of Nicaea or the scholars of medieval Europe. It was encoded, sealed, and preserved for the generation that would live in the end times, the generation that would witness the return of the old patterns, the reemergence of the forbidden knowledge, the awakening of forces that were bound but never destroyed. And if you look around you now, if you observe the world with clear eyes, you will see it. The same corruption, the same blending of the sacred and the profane, the same manipulation of human consciousness through technology, through media, through systems designed to keep you asleep. The watchers are no longer fallen angels descending from the sky. They are the ones who watch you through screens, who monitor your thoughts, who harvest your attention and feed you illusions. The forbidden arts are no longer taught in secret groves. They are broadcast openly. Genetic modification, artificial intelligence, transhumanism. The same promise offered to Eve in the garden. You shall be as gods, knowing good and evil, transcending your limitations, becoming more than human. This is the forbidden message, the one they did not want you to understand, that the battle Enoch witnessed has never ended. It has only changed form. And you, living in this age, are standing in the exact same crossroads that humanity faced before the flood. Will you choose the path of the Watchers, the path of forbidden knowledge pursued for power and control? Or will you choose the path of Enoch, the path of divine alignment, of walking with God, of transcending the flesh not through technology, but through consciousness itself? There is a passage in the book of Enoch that has been misunderstood for centuries. It describes a vision of 7 mountains, 7 peaks of different colors, each representing a different aspect of creation, a different frequency of divine energy. Enoch is taken to the center mountain, the one made of pure light, and he is told that this is the throne of God, the axis around which all reality turns. But the other 6 mountains, though beautiful, are shadows, reflections, imitations of the true light. And here is the key. The fallen ones, the Watchers, they did not create anything new. They could not. Because creation belongs to the divine alone. What they did was take what already existed and twist it, pervert it, use it for purposes it was never intended for. They took the knowledge of the stars and turned it into astrology, a system that binds consciousness to fate rather than freeing it to destiny. They took the knowledge of metals and turned it into weapons, tools of domination rather than instruments of creation. They took the knowledge of beauty and turned it into vanity, a prison of the ego rather than an expression of the soul. This is the pattern, and it is happening again. The technology you use every day was not created to enslave you, but it is being used that way. The systems of government, economy, education were not designed to suppress your potential. But they have been corrupted to do exactly that. The spiritual teachings that could liberate you have been watered down, commercialized, turned into self-help platitudes that keep you comfortable but never truly awake. And so the forbidden message of Enoch is this: discernment. You must learn to see through the illusion, to recognize the difference between the true mountain of light and the 6 shadow mountains that surround it. You must develop the inner vision that Enoch possessed, the ability to perceive the invisible forces at work behind the visible world. This is not paranoia. This is wisdom. This is not fear. This is clarity. Now we come to the part of the book of Enoch that causes the most controversy, the most discomfort, the most resistance. The part where Enoch is shown the ultimate fate of souls. He is taken to a place where 4 hollow places exist beneath the earth. One for the righteous who died before the flood, one for the wicked who were punished, one for those who died without judgment, and one for the martyrs, those who gave their lives in service of truth. And he is told that these souls remain in these places until the great judgment, the day when all things will be revealed, when every secret will be exposed, when the books will be opened, and every soul will stand before the throne. But here is what most people miss. The judgment is not arbitrary. It is not the whim of a capricious deity. It is the natural consequence of the choices made in the flesh, the patterns established in life, the alignment or misalignment with the divine frequency. Enoch saw that the wicked were not punished because they broke rules. They were suffering because they had become incompatible with the frequency of heaven. Like a radio tuned to static, they could no longer receive the signal of divine love. Not because the signal stopped broadcasting, but because they had adjusted their inner tuning to a different station. And this is the message that terrifies the power structures of the world. Because it means that salvation is not something that can be controlled by institutions. It cannot be bought. It cannot be sold. It cannot be granted by priests or withheld by kings. It is a matter of frequency, of resonance, of alignment. You either vibrate with the truth or you do not. And no amount of religious performance, no amount of ritual observance, no amount of outward conformity can substitute for that inner transformation. This is why the Book of Enoch was removed from the Bible. Not because it was inaccurate, not because it was heretical, but because it empowered individuals to seek direct communion with the divine. It removed the middleman. It dissolved the hierarchy. It placed the responsibility for spiritual awakening squarely on the shoulders of each individual soul. And those who profit from controlling access to the divine could not allow that. So they burned it, banned it, declared it apocryphal. But truth has a way of surviving. It was preserved in Ethiopia, where the church never removed it from their canon. It was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, buried in clay jars, waiting for the moment when the world would be ready to receive it again. And now, here you are, reading these words, feeling the stirring in your chest, the quickening of your spirit, the recognition that something ancient and powerful is speaking directly to your soul. This is not an accident. You are meant to find this. Just as Enoch was meant to walk with God, you are meant to awaken in this lifetime. Not because you are special in the sense of being better than others, but because you have reached a point in your soul's evolution where you are ready to remember, ready to see, ready to reclaim the power that has always been yours. Let us now turn to the astronomical secrets hidden within the Book of Enoch. Sections of the text that scholars have dismissed as primitive cosmology, as ancient attempts to understand the movement of the sun and moon without modern science. But those who read with spiritual eyes see something else entirely. Enoch was not writing a textbook on astronomy. He was encoding spiritual principles in astronomical language. He describes the gates of heaven through which the sun passes at different times of the year. 12 gates in the east, 12 gates in the west, each one corresponding to a different frequency of light, a different quality of divine energy available to humanity at different seasons. This is not about the physical sun. This is about the spiritual sun, the light of consciousness that moves through different phases of manifestation. The gates represent portals of awareness. At certain times, certain frequencies are more accessible. At other times, they are hidden. This is why ancient traditions spoke of sacred timing, of initiations performed at specific moments, of rituals aligned with celestial events. Not because the stars control us, but because they reflect the deeper patterns of consciousness itself. Enoch was teaching humanity how to read the cosmic clock, how to align personal transformation with universal cycles, how to open the gates within by understanding the gates without. And this knowledge was deemed too powerful for the masses, because a person who understands these principles cannot be controlled. They become sovereign. They step out of the manufactured timelines imposed by culture and into the natural rhythms of creation itself. They begin to operate from a place of divine timing rather than human urgency. And this changes everything. There is a passage near the end of the Book of Enoch where he speaks to his children. He tells them that he has written down everything he has seen and learned. He tells them to guard these writings, to pass them on, to ensure that future generations will have access to this knowledge. And then he says something profound. He tells them that in the last days, the righteous will be few, that wickedness will increase, that the earth will be filled with corruption and violence, just as it was before the flood. But he also tells them that the righteous will shine like the lights of heaven, that their wisdom will be like the sun, that they will not be overcome by the darkness because they carry the light within them. This is the promise, not that the world will become paradise before the end, not that evil will be defeated by external forces, but that those who align with truth, who walk the path of Enoch, who maintain their connection to the divine frequency, will become beacons in the darkness, and their very presence will be a form of judgment. Not judgment in the sense of condemnation, but judgment in the sense of revelation. When light enters a room, it does not announce itself. It does not argue. It simply illuminates. And in that illumination, everything is revealed for what it truly is. This is your calling, not to fight the darkness with the weapons of darkness, not to match violence with violence, deception with deception, fear with fear, but to become so filled with light that your very existence becomes an act of revelation. When you walk into a room, truth walks with you. When you speak, your words carry a frequency that awakens others. When you think, your thoughts contribute to the collective consciousness in ways you cannot measure, but can certainly feel. This is the forbidden message, that you are not powerless, that you are not a victim, that you are not dependent on external saviors or systems or structures. You are a fragment of the divine, incarnated in flesh, here to remember who you truly are and to help others remember as well. Now let us speak of the angels, because this is where the book of Enoch becomes most specific and most controversial. Enoch names the Watchers. He lists their leaders, Semyaza, Azazel, Armaros, Barakel. 20 in all, each with specific knowledge, specific corruption, specific consequence. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Azazel taught the making of swords and shields and the art of deception through cosmetics. Armaros taught the resolving of enchantments. Barakel taught astrology. These were not random gifts. They were strategic. Each piece of forbidden knowledge served a purpose: to bind humanity to the material realm, to distract consciousness from its true nature, to create dependencies on external tools and systems rather than developing internal power. And here is the message encoded within the names themselves. Because in ancient Hebrew, names carried meaning. They were not arbitrary labels. They were vibrational signatures. Azazel means God strengthens or scapegoat, the one who carries away the sins of the people. In the ritual described in Leviticus, the scapegoat is sent into the wilderness, bearing the transgressions of Israel. But in the book of Enoch, Azazel is the one who corrupted humanity, who taught the forbidden arts. The connection is not coincidental. The scapegoat ritual is a symbolic reenactment of what happened with the fallen Watchers. The transgressions that humanity carries are not random moral failures. They are the direct result of forbidden knowledge integrated into the collective consciousness. And the only way to be freed from that burden is to recognize its source. To understand that the systems of thought, the paradigms of reality, the frameworks of identity that you have inherited are not neutral. They have been influenced, shaped, in some cases, deliberately corrupted. This does not mean you are a victim. It means you are an inheritor, and you have a choice. You can continue to operate within the inherited paradigm, accepting its limitations as reality, or you can do what Enoch did: question everything, seek direct revelation. Walk with God rather than with the systems of men. There is a moment in the book of Enoch that is rarely discussed but profoundly important. After Enoch has seen all the visions, after he has been shown the fate of the fallen angels, after he has witnessed the coming judgment, he is returned to earth, and he is commanded to deliver a message to the Watchers themselves. He must go to them, these powerful beings who defied heaven, and tell them that there is no forgiveness for what they have done, that their punishment is sealed, that they will be bound in the depths of the earth until the day of judgment. Imagine the weight of that mission, to stand before beings of immense power and wisdom, beings who were once in the presence of God, and tell them that they have fallen beyond redemption. But Enoch does it, not with arrogance, not with condemnation, but with the authority of one who has seen the throne. And this is the key. True spiritual authority does not come from position or title or even knowledge. It comes from direct experience of the divine. Enoch could speak to the Watchers because he had been where they could no longer go. He had stood in the presence they had forfeited. He carried a frequency they could no longer access. And when he spoke, even they had to listen. This is the power available to you, not power over others. Not power to control or manipulate, but power that comes from alignment, When you speak from a place of genuine connection to the divine, your words carry weight, not because of your eloquence, not because of your charisma, but because truth recognizes itself. Even those who are opposed to truth must acknowledge it when it is spoken with authority. Even those who have chosen darkness must pause when they encounter genuine light. This is not about being confrontational. It is about being unmovable, rooted in something deeper than opinion or belief, anchored in direct experience of the divine presence. If you are still with me at this point, if you have followed this journey through the forbidden texts, through the hidden meanings, through the layers of symbolism and revelation, then I invite you to take a moment, right now. Pause this video, press the like button, subscribe to this channel, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because what is being shared here is not common knowledge. It is not mainstream content, it is transmission. And those who are meant to receive it will recognize it. Those who are ready will respond. And your engagement, your participation, your willingness to support this work is part of the pattern. It is an act of co-creation, a declaration that you are choosing the path of awakening, that you are aligning with the frequency of truth, and that alignment matters. It sends ripples through the collective consciousness. It strengthens the network of light that is forming around the planet. It contributes to the great awakening that Enoch prophesied and that you are living through right now. Let us now address the most controversial aspect of the Book of Enoch, the giants, the Nephilim. These beings born from the union of angels and humans, who grew to enormous size, who consumed all the resources of the earth, who began to devour humanity itself. The text is graphic. It describes how the giants turned against mankind, how they became predators, how they corrupted the entire planet with violence and bloodshed. And this is why God sent the flood, not as arbitrary punishment, but as a necessary cleansing, a reset, an intervention to preserve the genetic and spiritual integrity of the human race. But here is what most people do not understand. The giants were not merely physical beings of great stature. They were spiritual forces, entities that existed on multiple dimensions. And when the flood came, their flesh was destroyed, but their spirits remained. The Book of Enoch tells us that these spirits became the demons that plague humanity, disembodied entities seeking to inhabit human vessels, to influence human consciousness, to continue the work of corruption from the spiritual realm. This is not superstition. This is cosmology, the understanding that reality is layered, that the visible world is only one dimension of a much larger existence, that there are forces, intelligences, energies operating beyond the range of physical perception, and these forces are not neutral. Some are aligned with the divine order. Others are aligned with chaos and corruption, and every human being, whether they realize it or not, is interacting with these forces every single day. Your thoughts are not entirely your own. Your emotions are influenced by currents you cannot see. Your decisions are shaped by energies you have never been taught to recognize. This is not meant to make you paranoid. It is meant to make you aware. Because awareness is the first step toward sovereignty. When you recognize that there are influences acting upon your consciousness, you can begin to discern which ones to accept and which ones to reject. You can learn to guard your mind, to protect your emotional body, to fortify your spiritual space. This is spiritual warfare, not with swords and shields, but with awareness, discernment, and alignment with divine frequency. The Book of Enoch describes a place called the Valley of Judgment, a location where the fallen angels are held in chains of darkness, awaiting the final day. Enoch is taken there, he sees them, he hears their cries, and he is told that this is the fate of all who choose rebellion over obedience, chaos over order, self-will over divine will. But there is a deeper layer to this. The Valley of Judgment is not just a location, it is a state of consciousness. When a being, human or angelic, chooses to operate outside of divine alignment, they create their own prison. Not because God punishes them, but because they have stepped out of the flow of life itself. Imagine a river. The water flows naturally toward the ocean. A fish that swims with the current moves effortlessly, but a fish that insists on swimming against the current exhausts itself. It may feel like it is exercising freedom, but it is actually creating its own suffering. The fallen angels are swimming against the current of creation, and the chains they wear are not imposed from outside. They are the natural consequence of their choices. This is the law of the universe. You are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your choices. And the longer you persist in choices that are misaligned with truth, the heavier the chains become. Until eventually, you cannot move at all. You are trapped in the valley of your own making. But here is the hope. For humans, unlike the fallen angels, there is always a way back. The door is always open. The invitation is always extended. No matter how far you have wandered, no matter how deep into the valley you have descended, the path of return is available. This is grace. Not cheap grace. Not grace that excuses or enables, but grace that empowers transformation. Grace that meets you where you are and lifts you to where you are meant to be. Enoch speaks of a tree of great beauty and fragrance, located at the edge of the earth, near the throne of God. He is told that this tree is reserved for the righteous, that its fruit will be given to them after the judgment, and it will restore all that was lost in the fall. This is the tree of life, the same tree that stood in the center of Eden. The tree that humanity was barred from after the fall, lest they eat of it and live forever in their fallen state. But the promise is that access will be restored, not to the fallen version of humanity, but to the redeemed, to those who have undergone the process of transformation, who have shed the old self and put on the new. And here is the mystery. The tree is not just a future promise. It is a present reality in the spiritual realm. The fruit of the tree is divine consciousness. Eternal life is not merely duration. It is quality. It is a state of being where you are so aligned with the source of life that death has no claim on you. This is what Jesus meant when he said that whoever believes in him will never die. He was not talking about the death of the body. He was talking about the death of the soul, the extinction of consciousness, the fading into nothingness. Those who eat from the tree of life, who partake of divine consciousness, who align themselves with eternal truth, cannot be annihilated. They may leave the body, but they do not cease to exist. They continue in dimensions beyond the physical, growing, learning, serving, becoming more fully who they were always meant to be. This is the promise hidden in the book of Enoch, that the resurrection is not just a one-time event at the end of history. It is happening now. Every moment that you choose truth over illusion, light over darkness, love over fear, you are participating in resurrection. You are eating from the tree of life. You are reclaiming your immortal nature. Now we must speak of the final vision, the ultimate revelation that Enoch received. He was shown the end from the beginning, the entire arc of human history, the rise and fall of nations, the coming of the Messiah, the final judgment, the new heaven and new earth. And he was told to write it all down, to seal it up, to preserve it for the generation that would need it most. That generation is yours. You are living in the time that Enoch saw, the time when the patterns of the pre-flood world would return, when wickedness would increase, when the love of many would grow cold, when humanity would face a choice between transformation and extinction. But you are also living in the time of greatest opportunity. Because the same forces that are being unleashed for destruction can be harnessed for creation. The same technologies that threaten to enslave can be used to liberate. The same global connectivity that spreads deception can spread truth. It all depends on who is wielding the tools and what frequency they are operating from. This is why your awakening matters, not just for you, but for the collective. Every person who chooses to wake up, to align with truth, to operate from divine frequency, shifts the balance. You become a node in the network of light, a point of coherence in the field of chaos. And as more nodes activate, the network strengthens until it reaches critical mass, until the 100th monkey effect occurs, until the collective consciousness tips toward awakening rather than slumber. You are not here by accident. You are here as part of the plan. The same plan that Enoch saw, the same plan that has been unfolding since before the foundation of the world. And your role, though it may seem small, is essential. Because you carry a piece of the puzzle that no one else carries. You have a frequency signature that is unique, and when you fully activate, when you step into the fullness of who you were created to be, you complete something in the cosmic design that cannot be completed any other way. The Book of Enoch ends with a benediction, a blessing pronounced over the righteous, over those who walk in the ways of truth, over those who endure to the end. And the blessing is this: you will shine like the stars of heaven. You will be companions of the hosts of heaven. You will walk in eternal light, and the secrets of righteousness will be revealed to you. This is not metaphor. This is promise. This is destiny. The path that Enoch walked, the path of translation, of ascension, of divine union, is available to you, not in some distant future, not in some other lifetime, but here, now, in this body, in this moment. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The throne room of God is accessible through the doorway of your own consciousness. The angels that escorted Enoch can escort you. The visions that were shown to him can be shown to you, because the same Spirit that filled him is available to fill you. The same divine presence that called him can call you. The same voice that spoke to him is speaking to you right now, through these words, through the stirring in your heart, through the knowing that something ancient and true is being awakened within you. Do not ignore this moment. Do not dismiss it as coincidence or emotional manipulation. This is a genuine transmission, a call from the depths of eternity into the core of your being. And your response matters. Will you answer? Will you step through the doorway? Will you choose the path of Enoch? Or will you return to the comfort of sleep, the safety of the known, the predictability of the consensus reality? The choice has always been yours. It will always be yours. No one can make it for you, not a teacher, not a guru, not a priest, not even God himself will violate your free will. But the invitation stands. The door remains open, and on the other side is everything you have ever truly wanted. Not the shallow desires manufactured by culture, but the deep longing of your soul, to know, to be known, to love, to be loved, to create, to serve, to become who you were always meant to be. Before we close, I want to share one final secret from the Book of Enoch, something so subtle that most readers pass right over it. In the beginning of the text, Enoch describes himself as a scribe, a recorder, a witness. He never claims to be special. He never boasts of his righteousness. He simply says that he walked with God. And because he walked with God, he was shown these things. This is the key. The entirety of what Enoch experienced, everything he saw and learned and became, flowed from one simple practice. He walked with God. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, daily, moment by moment. He maintained connection. He prioritized relationship. He aligned his life around the presence of the divine, and everything else followed from that. The visions, the revelations, the translation, all of it was the natural result of sustained alignment. This is the message that the powers of the world do not want you to understand. That transformation is not complicated. It is not reserved for the elite. It does not require secret initiations or expensive training or esoteric knowledge. It requires one thing: walking with God, maintaining connection, choosing alignment. Everything else is commentary. Everything else is detail. Everything else flows from this central reality. When you walk with God, you are guided. When you maintain connection, you are protected. When you choose alignment, you are empowered. And over time, the accumulation of those choices transforms you. Not through struggle, not through striving, but through surrender, through trust. through the simple act of showing up day after day and saying yes to the presence that is always calling you deeper. So here is my final word to you. The forbidden message of the Book of Enoch is not a doctrine. It is not a theology. It is not a system to be learned or a formula to be followed. It is an invitation to remember who you truly are, to reclaim the power that has always been yours, to step out of the valley of shadows and into the mountain of light. The path will not be easy. There will be resistance from the world, from those around you, from the parts of yourself that are still attached to the old ways. But you will not walk alone. The same angels that guided Enoch will guide you. The same spirit that filled him will fill you. The same divine presence that called him is calling you. And if you answer, if you truly commit to this path, your life will become a living testament, a demonstration of what is possible when a human being aligns with the divine. You will shine like the lights of heaven. Your wisdom will be like the sun. And though the darkness may rage around you, it will not overcome you, because you carry the light within. This is the forbidden message. This is the truth they tried to bury. This is the revelation that was meant for you. Now go, walk with God, and become who you were always meant to be. If this message has stirred something within you, if you recognize the call, then take action. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, share it with those who have ears to hear. Because the awakening is happening, the network is forming, and you are part of it. The age of Enoch has returned, and you are the ones who will walk through it, in light, in truth, in power, forever.